Hi, everybody. My name is Diane Silver, and I am your MC today for the 7th Annual Lawrence Poetry Fair and the first ever virtual poetry fair. Thank you so much for being here. I think we're going to have a lot of fun today, and it's going to be wild and wacky as befits this friggin' insane time we are living in right now. We have 22 poets who are going to be reading for you today, and they include 3 poet laureates, past and present, along with a host of other amazing artists uh, who are going to say a whole lot of interesting stuff. One housekeeping thing, we will have a intermission halfway through, so you can get up, take a brief break, and then we will have the rest of the poets. So without any further ado, it is very appropriate that we start with the amazing Beth Schultz, who is the founder of the Poetry Fair in Lawrence, a world-renowned scholar of literature, and the author of 5 books of poetry. Beth, your 5 minutes to read. Thank you. Little technical detail here. We seem to be, Beth, can you?
I need to unmute myself. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I had a wonderful trip earlier this year to Mexico, where I went looking for whales, whom are very special to me. And I've written some poems that I'd like to share with you from that journey. The first one is called Pacific Beach. Beyond these soundless dunes, the Pacific pounds, its relentless waves crashing, receding in succession, crests rising, falling in a pulverizing frenzy, diminishing into gentle strokes. In their seething departure, my footprints dissolve. Suddenly, the shore is paved with sand dollars. Other gifts are scattered about. A fish's immense white skeleton looms, and everywhere shells, orange, pink, maroon. Plastic has not yet been invented. Wind steals my words and leaves my shadow quivering on the sand. I did see whales while I was there. This one is called Mother and Child. They won't hold still for photographs or paintings. Their life is in moving, swimming, diving, spouting, splashing, circumambulating. The small whale slips off his mother's shining back. His mother shifts, lifts him up for another slide. Blowing spray, she showers him. His mother and the lagoon are all in all, guiding, providing, nurturing, teaching, preparing this sliding, slippery youth for departure out of the cradling lagoon, out of this calm, this ease, to join his kin in the tumultuous sea, in the inevitable migration ahead, north, north. A third poem about whales. This one is A Pair of Gray Whales. Gray whales, 2, side by side, siblings, lovers, mom and grown-up offspring, friends, heading out, playing around, enjoying the day, lounging in the lagoon, just leading their lives. They are immense. They shine. They breathe with gusto. They dive and appear, not here, but over there, near the opposite shore. They are themselves. They are myself, transformed. And then I'd like to read just one older poem to bring things around. This one is called Water Gazers. On the pier in the harbor of Guinea-Bissau, on the coast of West Africa, where cashews are shipped and cocaine arrives daily, they wait through the day. The woman in a long blue dress, the man in a torn brown shirt, the boy in untied tennis shoes. They wait through the day for a line to be tossed, for a glance to be passed, for an incoming freighter bringing news, for a small cruise ship bringing someone. They wait through the day, and tomorrow they'll return, checking to see if the horizon is still there. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Denise Low, and nice to visit with you. It's just great to see everybody. Thank you to Diane, to Beth, to Jessica, who's been very patient with me. I've got a few poems to read and share, and then I look forward to listening to everybody else, because that is the pleasure of these events. The first one is called Stop Dance, Wyandotte County. The Kansas Delawares have been very generous with me, even though I only have heritage, and have included me in their doings. And this is from one of these. Stop Dance, Wyandotte County. The lead man lifts his black hat and calls from the center. I wait for the tail end of the man-woman procession. Lead women are shell shakers. Double time steps rustle, turtle shell rattles tied to shins. Men sing and sing loud. Women step hard. The inner circle might turn sideways to the fire. My grandfather and grandmother lived on Lenape land near this spot. Their footprints remain in this ground. The leader raises his arm for each new song. Men answer, their breath lifts with smoke. I remember Josiah, what he said about tobacco. The head man offers prayers. I remember the Foley family and their stomp ground near Copan. I remember Cherokees who dance, Redbird Smith's descendants, Crosland and Benny. Shush mixes with songs older than the mounds. I am relocated to the West Coast, and one of the surprises is I run into people who knew the Oregon life of William Stafford. So I think of him in new contexts, and this is variations on keening, which comes from the poem Listening, and the line I am riffing off of is, we would watch him look up and his face go keen. So this is my variations on William Stafford's keening. My father's face went keen. Cicadas droned as darkness walled us in. His eyes were echoes on fire. He spoke kennings, his wise irises cobalt blue. Second sight, prophet's eyes, proved his cutting tools. Dark fathoms lay buried in river mud, his eyes pierced. Father was a fisher of meat. We ate animal kin, darkening love with tang. Beauty snares eyes. A sunfish runs under a keen-bladed knife. Sequin scales flake, their eyes darken into stares beyond ken. I keen. My father's twin star eyes gaze equally into and out of the dark. And I'll finish with a third song here. I like that poem. What line? A glyph shows death rates from hurricanes, wildfires, pandemics, bombings. What line in rocks changes my side to yours? What moment did you grip my hand and not let loose? Lines in my child's palm, prom mystique, the X where lifeline and love line cross, her fate meanders a wrinkled maze. The gray rock and Sonoma hillsides with one porcelain line shot through, these I hold onto. and thank you. I'll mute myself, right?
Hello, I'm Kevin Rabas, and I'm going to read a few poems here. Thanks everybody for having us, and thanks for putting it together. So this is called So We Stay Home, and it's a pandemic poem. I wrote it on the 18th of March this year. So we stay home, watch the rain, gray day, the lawn greening, the yellow crocus up, trumpeting, and nowhere to go, no one to meet for lunch, the bug in the background. And so I listen to Minges, goodbye, pork pie hat, and pray for my parents in another town, and for jazz musicians out of work, home with their saxes and drums, rumbling somewhere like the Italian tenor, singing from his window to an empty, empty street. And then this next one is a poem that was written based on an interview from a friend of mine who goes to Uganda once a year for a service learning project. And he invited some folks out to eat tilapia, and they taught him how to eat tilapia. Not done. We eat tilapia by the sea, that little black fish with a small pinch of salt to season the dish. In Uganda, where this is a lot, a treat, more than most ever eat, and we stop, and the waiter says, not done. So we pick the bones, not done. So we eat the scales, the fins, not done. So we eat the eyes, warm and soft, the tail, till there is nothing left but thin white bones, like hooks, like teeth, like the belly of a boat, stripped, open to the sun and sea, hollow, a mouth all the way open, hungry for nothing now. And I wanted to read one poem that kind of engages with politics a little bit. This one is called Tea Rally, and the T is a T with some dashes after it, meaning that the name is obscured. If you look out at your crowd, mouth to the mic, and they're beating someone, fist to face, feet to his ribs, know you've turned bad, bad, bad. Your voice gone wrong, your soul split, spilt, spoiled, a mush. Look up. God may not spite you with a golden bolt, but I might. I just might. And then this is one that it's from an experience I will never live down. It's called Lisa's Flying Electric Piano. Her full-size electric piano flew out of my father's pickup truck. I was driving. Somehow the bass detached from the keyboard, and it all went flying into the busy intersection of 47th and Main. No one hit it, and Lisa said, let's just throw it into this dumpster when we had carried it out of the road. No, I said, let's take it to your new apartment, and we did. When I turned it on, the power eye glowed red, but it did not play. The next day I found the volume slider and turned it up, and it played perfectly. Aside from the scrapes from the road on its key cover, it was fine. I practiced tying knots, roping things down, and dreamt at last of turning corners slow, and of a keyboard rising in flight and floating across town, playing a well-known sonata as it flew. And I think I'll do at least one more little thing. This is a passage from this new novella that I wrote called Elizabeth City. It came out just about a month ago, and it's about a kissing game that plays upon the art of Rene Magritte, the painter. I bend, and as I do, I see the length of her body in full, taken in snapshots and segments and pieces, as Rene Magritte reveals in his surrealist paintings how the eye can only see as much at once, and so we construct the body as one. Once we have seen each piece, each shot, I settle on her ankle, give her a butterfly kiss, light as an eyelash wink. Thanks a lot. It was a good to be a part of things today.
Okay, I think it's my turn. I'm
Go, Diane.
Diane Wahto from Wichita, and I'm glad I don't have to travel. So this works for me. I do have 3 books that I just published. The Sad Joy of Leaving by Blue Cedar Press, and First of Reflection by Spartan, and then one my oldest son did for me called Leap of Faith. I must say he took his time to do it, but anyway, those are my books, and I'm no longer president of District 5 Kansas Authors Club. Hooray! I enjoyed it, but it is kind of exhausting. The first poem I'm going to read, I wrote after thinking about a time when we lived in Pier, Michigan, which was across the river from Sarnia, Canada. And back then, the Vietnam War was going on, and I really wanted to take my boys and move across the river, but there were too many complications. So I've written this poem, Fleeing to Canada. We took the test, passed it barely, both still young enough to cross the Blue Water Bridge over the St. Clair River, both working at jobs we could do in cyberspace. We had income, both in good health, both ready to leave it all behind. But the dogs, 5 of them, the collie too old to travel, all unemployed, all at home in the big backyard. The fence that kept them safe kept us from fleeing. And I just wrote this poem, and I have to thank my youngest son for the idea of this one. Dust in the wind, or dust in the wind from Kansas. The upstairs window is a panorama of green, a wonder, a gift of, I'm sorry, sometimes my eyes aren't too good, a gift of spring, of old trees full of life. Friends say they're in pain, want to die before it gets too bad. The young want us to die, they need our breaths to live. Yes, it's true, life is brief, too many of us gone. I look at my grown children, their wives, grandchildren, wonder what happened to those 3 little boys so full of questions. Why is that guinea pig getting fat? What do worms do all day? When is Santa coming? We bought toys for them. They played with the pots and pans in the kitchen floor. They watched Saturday morning cartoons, Sesame Street. We watched Star Trek together. Later, Doctor Who, the first series with the rickety sets. Now we get together to go to Star Wars, Harry Potter. No, too much life to live. Yet before I turn to dust, I do not look to the wards of heaven. I do not look to the punishment of hell. I have no great plans after recent to send invitations to the party of leaving. And my last one, kitchen dance. We whirl, turn, reel from cabinet to refrigerator to pantry to drawer to roast chicken. The roast chicken fills the kitchen. We are careful not to step on toes, trip on feet, moving quickly around the space, not small. Our movements make the room seem crowded as we try to cook a meal together. Yes, they say too many cooks spoil the broth, but somehow we beat the odds as we sit at the table to savor our food. That's it. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. This is Malcolm Cook in Leawood, Kansas. I'd like to begin with Posted We'll trade poetry for toilet paper. You incisive people with your razor-sharp wit who saw great advantage in the proposed exchange, in measured response to your effusive well-wishing and thinly veiled hopes to profit from same, found me next scrawling iambic pentameter, meters on meters of lyrical verse, on 6 dozen rolls of papyrus toilettes, which started out fine but took a turn for the worse. Albeit your outpouring of support has renewed my faith in your collective critical sense to recognize and compensate genius where it may lie. But the muse has run out. The tap has run dry. Perforce, I'm driven to issue this rain check. Should toilet paper shortage conditions prevail, I'll repost this offer to come who might, provided your contracts do not entail exclusive American publishing rights. A very short poem, My Faraway Sister. I saw that stark branch when you first brought it home. In the background, horizontal, wrapped in paper on a shelf. A late winter cherry, orange, mulberry, peach. I love that it blooms in my far away sister's window. This is cardamom or purple silk. Long sunsets or a Shostakovich, tree-lined walk or a thoughtful touch. Tag you're it, Jamaican coffee, metro stations, fitted sheets. Radios or art museums, witnessing your children grow. Dappled sun or hardbound books, tousled hair, arpeggios. Insects pure, petrified in amber, pianofortes, well-planned deals, skyscrapers with swivel chairs, holding hands on Ferris wheels, slumber parties, honest men, daiquiris, a red tin pail, a cabin view, a clap of thunder, first to the moon, the hammered nail, apostrophes or daffodils, an alto's glance, a dog with bone, the call to prayer, the whippoorwill, the scent of lavender or stone. Finally, I'd like to read No More Bear Hugs. Remember our fist bumps from early this year, then that period of jocular, were they self-conscious, elbow taps? No, apologetic, uncertain, just to be safe, you know, as if to say, well, shit, rather, let's not. For now, even they are long gone, given way to perfunctory nods at our neighbors with dogs that keep to themselves with their stockpiled shelves, or at colleagues through virus-free webcams. I'm now at the grocer. I've wiped my cart clean. Aren't I clever not touching the automatic door? Aisle 3's vacant shelves make a mock of my urgency. Nonchalant, I go by and averting my eyes over here. This too shall pass. Still bemused by last Saturday's Stop and Shop findings, green olives, diced tomatoes, a melange of legumes, I quickly find cabbage and mushrooms and cut kale, the impromptu makings of a quick cassoulet, or perhaps just Italian stew. And I used the self-checkout for the very first time, me whose daily high point is often trading non-sequiturs and how-do-you-dos with a beautiful brown-eyed tattooed cashier, or the Ankh-wearing dignified young dreadlock bagger, essential the frontline bagger. Wish their shift is done soon and they'll soon sit at home to a meal and a chance to put your feet up. It's all air kisses now, or the Japanese bow with their latency over the internet. As we Zoom and we tweet and we read all that screed, respirators meant for one, jerry-rigged serve for three, and we socially distance, try to flatten the curve, track ratios of hospital beds to people in need. I wave bye to my screen and take bleach to the kitchen and disinfect all the doorknobs. Thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Malcolm. Also, thank you for reminding me how much whippoorwill is such a great word. I'm going to read 3 short prose poems from my newest manuscript. Your hands do not belong to you, or this is what it feels like. You cannot feel them. There is no sensation of touch or grip or warmth. There is only numbness. Is what frightens you that A, this is not the first time, or B, the loss of sensation is spreading to your feet? You calculate each gesture and movement of your limbs, certain that whatever is happening is only a fluke, an anomalous occurrence, and that any second all will be as it was. Sensation does not come back to you for the rest of the day, and you move like slow motion into the night. Perhaps the first rule is that you must believe in epiphanies. The epiphany now is that the body cannot feel. The epiphany is that the body is letting you know something is wrong. The material itself will tell the story, a faint, a hyperventilate, a sleeping too much or not at all, a feel there is a strange ghost following you, clouded in a black memory. A loss of sensation, each time an oncoming wave swelling with enormous energy that you can predict the onset has little to do with control. Instead, the epiphany is that to understand what is happening to your body in the present, you must descend into each memory and into the past. Not only your memory, not only your own memory, but your mother's and her mother's. Not mother in a biological sense, but mother in a that which heals sense, or in an act passed down sense. If it is true the memory has been left inside the body, then you must descend. Be unafraid to travel. And I'll just read one more. This project actually began interviewing the women in my family and kind of investigating some of the threads between multi and transgenerational women. And I know even right now, so much of like my hope and encouragement and strength comes from the women in my family. So here's one more. I ask my abuelita to tell me a story of being born. And she tells the story of the time she died. She tells me of the time she floated up from her body, which lay upon a yellow hospital bed. Abuelita ascended and looked down to see a white and sterile room, a rush of nurses running up to her body, and in the corner, Abuelo's head in his hands. My mother and Tia and Theo were small children then and clung to Abuelo's legs as they sat on the floor. I was ready to go, Abuelita tells me. I was in so much pain. She pauses the story here, closing her eyes before she continues. This is how I left, she says. Abuelita rose up through an illuminated cloud of light. Abuelita followed patches of light and saw in the distance a brother. This brother had passed away a few years prior. This is how Abuelita knew she was in another place. What must this have been like, to be between two worlds, to be in past and present? She begins to follow him. She wants to be near her brother. He sees her and reaches out, says, Carmelita, you cannot be here. Here is when the aperture of light begins to rotate closed. But I want to go with you, Abuelita tells her brother. Why can't I stay? The light narrows. There are others, he tells her, who still need you. When Abuelita wakes, the nurses are pressing down upon her body, are grabbing her face and saying in a chorus of sound, "Stay with us, stay with us, stay with us." Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Antonio Sanchez-day, and I'm going to share two pieces that I've been working on lately. First one is Time Out. Sunrise. A sliver of pink slices through twilight sky. Bird songs fill the morning air. A slight breeze blows gently through vacated streets, lined with buildings of expired businesses that now house depleted American dreams. Parks quiet, void of movement, barren intersections, streetlights blinking silently. The slightest noise echoing into the distance, giving the impression the world is taking a time out. A powder keg. The world is taking a time out. A world at its boiling point. A powder keg waiting to blow with its terrorism, violence, hate, racism, politics, and corruption. A world that now sits simmering. And I'd like to share one more. This one is called United States of Agitation. A restless nation fidgets, isolates societies, one life back, cries for a return to normality. Blatant defiance of stay-at-home orders, packed beaches, block parties, the youth parties to paint away. First Amendment rights exercised daily. Armed protesters gather at state capitals. Demonstrators rallying to reopen business. Healthcare workers on the front line, picketing for supplies. Government aid, requesting people to just stay home. Shootings have resumed. Innocent civilians, racially profiled, shot and killed for wearing masks. Patrons at stores slain for not wearing masks. Fast food employees, now deemed essential, members of the workforce murdered by a disgruntled customer. We the people have learned nothing. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Debra A Irsik, and I'm going to read a couple of poems that are from Hero's Purpose, which is my middle grade novel that is not yet published. It has poetry in it because these kids are starting a group, and these would be spoken word probably if kids were doing. I'm obviously not going to memorize these. Maybe someday. Okay, the first one is, why can't you see me? I'm standing right here. You pass close enough to touch, but to hope is too much because you can't see me. Oh, you brush my sleeve as you whisk by me, but you won't see me, only what you perceive to be me. My skin is not pearly white. My smile is overly bright. My clothes, my shoes, my style, just not right. Why can't you just see me? The funny, fast, and fearless me, not the too short, too freaky me. I want you to really see we are not so different. We all want to be accepted. Don't spurn me without cause or ignore me without pause. Can't you see? I'm the shadow of you. The you afraid of rejection, of not having group protection. I am your fear. I am your pain. Can't you see me for who I am, for the things for which I stand? It's time to raise the bar. Let each person be who they are. Seriously, dude, why can't you just see me? And the second poem is also from that book. And their group is also an environmentalist themed group. So this one is called Footprint. What is a carbon footprint? Do we have one? Is it cause for alarm? Politico in a Twitter with Greta's effect. What's the harm? They cite fake news, no global warming, just radical environmentalists swarming. Ignore the signs, milk OSHA's gain. We're doing fine, there's no acid rain. Yeah, oceans are dying, coral reefs are shrinking. We have more earthquakes, fires, and drought, pollution in water and air, and our lungs, well, let's not go there. We need fossil fuel to move ahead. Don't fill our minds with doomsday dread. Petroleum and coal fuel our homes and our cars. Wind energy impedes our view of the prairie and stars. So continue to pump, frack, and strip poor Mother Earth until she's sick. Let the seismometers whir while we all gasp for clean air and follow our leaders with that vacant stare. Or initiate change, walk, don't ride, change the tide, use less water, please. And if you need light, use LEDs. Don't waste food, there's carbon there. Eat local produce and share. Recycle, repurpose, reuse. If you travel, don't fly, take a cruise. Turn off electronics, it's not too hard. Insulate better, use Energy Star. Choose not to be a nation of sorrow. Save our wildlife, our oceans, our children. Save tomorrow. And the last one is, the book is dedicated to my son, John, who has Down syndrome. And there is a character in the book that has Down syndrome. And this one is called Our Special Friends. Their passion is real. Every smile sincere, no agenda or intent, just open honesty. This is their gift to each of us. Pure trust, innocence, and love without condition. You don't have to be beautiful or smart, tall or thin, just you. How refreshing and inspiring. They put their heart into everything they do, running with abandon around an old track, with every ounce of energy they can muster. Winning is not as important as just being there and participating with their friends. They will proudly wear their medals and share them at home, work, church, and even at the grocery store with anyone who smiles their way. They know no strangers, no difference is too great. We are all equal in their eyes. They are shunned, sneered at, bullied, and mocked, yet they hold no grudge. They are quick to forgive our transgressions with simple grace. If it's true that man is created in God's image, then surely these who love simply, laugh readily, and smile with their heart in their eyes are the portrait of God. They run over the finish line expecting a high five or hug, wanting only our love and acceptance of their limitations. We call them many things: handicapped, challenged, special needs, but maybe we should add teacher to the list. I think we can learn a lot from our special friends. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sara Minges. It's great to be here. So I'm going to read a few poems. The first one is from my latest collection. It's called Judgments. You judge our stories by the chapter you walked in on, because the front lawn seems greener on your side of the street. We are not so different, you and I. Our lives are simply stories of tapestries, interconnected, unable to separate. Someday, you will find yourself on our side of the street, be it through death, divorce, illness, or heartache. Be kind, show compassion, for someday it will be your lifeline. So I'm going to read a couple poems from Naked Toes, my second full-length collection. My fight with Barbie. Barbie and I had a fight last night. She is tired of being silenced, but thinks admiration ain't so bad. Me, I am tired of being compared to her hourglass perfect figure, impossible to replicate. And so I fall short where she soars. Still, I think I prefer to keep my voice instead of being plastic. Silence. So May is National Mental Health Awareness Month, so I wrote this poem in honor of my mother and her advice to me. Be bold, she whispered, scribbled on the pages of her soul. Go forth and be you, my majestic creature, always be you. Break through that glass ceiling imposed on you by men, Wonder Woman style. Follow your Irish wandering hearts. Let excitement flow through your veins. 8 parts poet, 3 parts extrovert, 1 part introvert, with a pinch of well-timed sass and the Anderson clan stubbornness to round it all out. Believe and you shall receive. Do things I never dared to try. Keep making mistakes, for that is how you will learn. Never sacrifice or settle. You were destined for more. Be pleasing without sacrificing your spirit, your essence, your beauty. Love life for its exhilaration. Take the good with the bad. And sometimes eat cake for breakfast. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Duane Johnson from Topeka. First poem is Tightening the Seam. It just felt like something was going to happen. Maybe the way leaves barely quivered, or how the alpenglow recast its golden hue up on the stage. Certainly, there is something in Jerry's voice on Ripple, as the crowd, now quiet, leaned toward him. It's then that I felt them stir in both brain and breast, those mystic threads of intimacy, drawing everyone closer, tightening the seam. It happens countless times in life, beginning with an intimation that we'd better pay attention or miss a blessed event. Cues and outcomes are never the same. But the stirring of those threads through brain and breast always tweaks our senses just before the moments tighten. And as every soul around us draws closer to the seam, we can see in their eyes, they feel it too. This second poem is dedicated to Richard Dawkins, scientist who would rid the world of religion if he could. It's entitled Suspended in Eternity. Most ants look like oats, you know, except each one is its own designated driver. The muscular momentum of their limbs etching a carousel of sepia tone silhouettes across the pale ale sky. I stroll the quieter side of my favorite lake for the sole purpose of watching them moving. They dance in slow motion, stop action, so it almost seems to me, etching my own brief moment in time, they dance with the joy of anima movendi, suspended in eternity. They dance unafraid of orcs and goblins that terrorize oaks on winter nights. And they dance because they know, regardless of what things we think we see that might be figments, the joy is real. And then one more, our genius eyes, we're all geniuses. Some solution in my soul cleanses the lens of my genius eye whenever I consider a stranger. Some penetrating agent dissolves cataracts of contempt that would cloud my quick perception of a kindred spirit. In early Cambrian days, our native eyes emerged from dust with specks embedded, and in our struggle to survive, seemed best fitted to focus on enemies. But in this integrating age, we're beginning to perceive our greatest struggle is to evolve from our predator nature by learning to sustain one another. And we owe this revelation to some solution in our souls that cleanses the lenses of our genius eyes until we clearly see a landscape free of enemies. Thank you.
Hi. Thanks, everybody. Wow, we are moving quickly. I am missing the applause and the snaps, but we are moving so quickly that we have decided, yeah, I saw that. We have decided to not do an intermission. I hope that's okay with everyone. I did want to make one announcement before I do my reading, that I want you to make certain you check the chat so that you can see how to connect with all the poets, buy our books, give us money so we can keep writing. So here's what's important. Here's what I'm reading today. Let's see, let's get the reading up. Okay, this is my, everything's kind of a pandemic poem, but only one was written during the pandemic. And the first one comes from one morning when I woke up and I was listening to news on my phone and I just wanted to throw my phone through the wall. So I wrote a little poem called When I Cannot Stand the News. When I cannot stand the news, I pull off mask, kick off shoes, peel away shirt, unhook bra, take off jeans, shuck all the cloth and elastic, toss them down. Rush like a lover to her beloved into a waterfall of words. The crisp, sharp shock of poem. The cold water pounds against scalp and cheek, pools over my bare feet, loosens every speck of heat. I tilt my head up, part my lips, and drink deep. That's what I've been doing during this poetry reading. Oh, my blood pressure went down the minute everyone started to read. The second of my three poems is one that I wrote in February, just before all the strange things started to happen. And it was after the last snowstorm, substantial snowstorm we had melted. And I looked out my window one morning and there was all this mud. At the time I was writing a poem about spring. But now when I read it, it feels like it's not just about spring. It's about now. We are waiting, are we not? We are waiting for the dawn of something better. This is called Mud Morning. All the snows of this long winter have melted. The wind has finally let go of its complaints. The trees' bare branches slump exhausted. We inhale, all of us, land, trees, the damp, bent dead of last year's grass. And me in my woman's shell, wrinkled and aching, we wait for spring. Maybe a final line, we wait for a better world. Not very poetic, but it's the idea. My final poem for today, it's interesting. I am an atheist. I do not believe in God, certainly not a conventional God. But from at a very early age, I had a very mystical experience. And by mystical experience, I mean the classic definition, which means that I felt power in the universe, power in me. I suppose at another age, I would have thought it was a communion with God. But this was a communion with something else. It was a communion with freedom, with joy. Anyway, so I've tried over the years over and over and over again in nonfiction books, in essays, in fiction, in short stories to write this. And so I think I finally come up with it, although I don't know, it's kind of hallucinogenic. So this is my poem about my mystical experience at 5 years of age. And this occurred on the shore of Lake Huron, which is one of the Great Lakes, sometimes called sweetwater seas because they are as large as seas, but they have fresh water. So this is a poem that I hope will bring us all a sense of faith or a sense of connection with our power. And it is called To My 5-Year-Old Self at the Sweetwater Sea. The hot sand will sting the bottoms of both bare feet. Ignore it. Your mother will shout that it's time to go. Ignore it. Your brother will laugh. Ignore it. Your skin will open. Pay attention. Like the sides of a box banging down. Sun heats the inside. The walls will melt. Incredibly bright. Surprisingly cool. Your eyes will adjust. You will see the line of water meeting sky, swelling, subsiding, puffing up again. You will smell it. How could you have missed it before? The exhilaration of fresh water. You have become porous. You are no longer of this earth. You could become sun. You could revel in light replacing fingers, toes, face, stomach. It would be easy. You know this for a fact, but you choose to stay. Curiosity, perhaps. Remember this when your mother grabs you by the upper arm and drags you to the car. Remember this when the only escape from middle school is a cramped square window. Remember this when you're alone in your house wondering if you should make a plan to die. Remember this when you open your door this morning. Thank you.
That was phenomenal, Diane. This is such a joy to be a part of. Hi, everyone. I'm Linzi Garcia. I am currently in Emporia, Kansas, where I just finished my master's. So I'm going to read you a handful of poems from my thesis called House of Joy. This first one is called Prelude. When I walk into you, my house of joy, your strength embraces me from right earlobe to left pinky toe. I stroke your hinges and frames and say, house, tell me of your day. And you sing sweet verse about how you've missed me and how life is fuller when we're together. I bake you blueberry pie, the sweet scent held in your walls. You recite poetry to me while I bathe in lavender tea. You, my house of joy, cradle every bit of our coexistence and assure me I am safe with you. There are some dream sequence poems scattered throughout the manuscript, and this is the first one. The book follows 3 characters, primarily Olivia, Andrew, and Jax, so you will hear their recurring names. Olivia, Andrew, and Jax live in a large storage closet at the university. Olivia drops everything she picks up, shattering mugs, picture frames, all the delicate things. The boys crouch in dark corners, away from her chaos, leaving her out in the open among broken things. This is at the pub. At the pub, Olivia washes dishes across the bar from 2 army vets. The beat before she thanks them for their service, the muscle boasts to the air in front of him about being a man slut, how his recent divorce spit him back into this town, into the greatest bar in the world, he says, back into all the pussy he used to smash. The mouse, mouth full of chicken wings, sauce staining his Smith's meat is murder shirt, says to the muscle he's definitely got to woo the lady before he gives her 2 minutes of his premature ejaculation. If the pussy is good, the meat said, he might try talking to the girl. They laugh about how drunk they are half a beer in. Olivia puts the dishes aside and writes them a poem. This is called Chicken Bones. By the end of the month, they're picking at chicken bones, scraping the meat, fat, and too little marrow. They plop the gizzards, cartilage, whatever they can't stomach into a pot of tap water, boil it down into something new, tomorrow's soup base. This is called Work Ethic. There are a lot of poems about writing poems in this collection, so this is one of those. Sometimes it's not about writing the prettiest poem. It's about pinning that poem to your ass pocket and taking it out dancing. Don't let anyone read it. Rip it off, toss it to the floor at the end of the night, vow to never wear it again. Thanks for your kind little chats, everyone. This is the last one I'll share with you. It is called Framed. From the sidewalk of Main Street, you can spot frames of her in motion through her living room window. She sways like a cobra, charmed by music that fills only her box. Thanks for having me, everyone.
Yeah. I guess I am next. I am Paul Goldman. And there is a thing, and there it goes away. And my journey of wild joy began with a spoken word CD in 2010, culminated in these poems from my 6th collection called Solitary, which is sprouting wings or leaden feet to find a publisher, we'll see. So this first one is called The Right Chord. The music of life can sound discordant, like chalk scraping across the blackboard, or heroically melodic, like the sweet serenade of Amazing Grace, sung effortlessly at our own wake. We, the listeners, while we are yet alive, define whether the melodies we lean our ear into are filled with sorrow's reinforcement or hallelujah's pure joy. We get to choose which, for the right chord always awaits our ear to pay heed. And this next one, as we poets do, examines the art of writing poetry. It's called How a Poet Sees. A poet does not see with eyes, even opened wide. A poet sees through the heart with scalpel fingertips dissecting narrow veins of truth. Nothing shatters an illusion like a poet having moved self out of the way. The remainder, devoid of self, or the holy revelations of one who's delightfully gone mad, completely drunk on the beloved, another mystic let loose upon a world hungry to know beyond first sight. And then I have a pandemic poem called Pause for Life. Perhaps a pause for life. Precious life is underway, a chance to pull back to reevaluate the essential and non-essential. For in the end, what will matter most is the beauty of a flower, a sunset sky, and an enraptured break of dawn. Perhaps a pause for life. Precious life is underway, a sacred second chance to see anew with unencumbered, grateful eyes, just what we hold dear. You and I on bended knee come together now. That's one pause. Thank you.
I guess I'm next. My name is Lindsey Bartlett, and I am going to be reading some poems from my newly published book. It came out in January, and that is called Vacant Childhood. The first one I'm going to read is the title poem, and it is Vacant Childhood as well as the title. Small details are etched in memory, green moss on tree bark, old curry combs, medicine bottles waiting still for animals long gone. The way my dad solemnly buried several cats and a dog, in the same silos we tossed fallen tree limbs, stuff we no longer needed. In winter, our junk would turn to ash. that settled like snowflakes to frost-hardened ground. There was a John Deere riding lawnmower, green, yellow seat, my first experience behind the wheel, the half-frozen pond where Nate and I threw rocks until my dog jumped in and we screamed, fearing she would drown. Time has taken much, the loss of innocence, stolen like the old doors containing beveled glass. The memories shift like shadows, and I am reminded that time doesn't stop. Now it just moves differently. And I should have said this earlier, my book, Vacant Childhood, focuses on poems about my rural childhood and the farmhouse that I grew up in, which is now abandoned. So the next poem I'm going to read to you is called Queen of the Prairie. And I feel like I should try to show the picture that it goes with. This is part of the old barn that we lived on out at the farm. All right. Queen of the Prairie. There she is, still standing despite age and weather and time. All have taken their toll, yet still she stands gracefully aging. The up-close photo I take looks like a building with a face. Windows with no glass look down on my older self, doors coming loose from their hinges, the mouth not yet ready to tell its secrets. If this old barn could talk, she'd tell you about a young girl swinging in the hayloft, pretending to groom horses and run down stalls, the old truck she sheltered for many a year. Time has aged this Queen of the Prairie, but she'll always have a place in my heart. And then I'm going to read a shorter one, and that is called Porcelain Anomaly. A toilet nestled amongst the evergreens across the pasture at our farm. You wonder how it got there, this anomaly in nature, in its final resting place. Was it carried by calloused hands across yard and pasture once its usefulness was finished? The bowl where water once sat now fills with dead leaves and dirt. Plants grow from the tank, giving new meaning to the term potted plants. And then my last one for you today is called All I Ask. I'm sorry to bother you, but my name is Lindsay and I used to live here. I was wondering if I could come in one last time. I know you don't know me from Adam, but the writing in pink on the wall is mine. You see upstairs in that big bedroom is where I read the Boxcar Children and listened to my first CDs. I could tell you of birthday celebrations complete with extravagant cakes my mom decorated, Easter celebrations and playing croquet in the yard. I have a picture of me with my favorite dog sitting about here on this old porch. I can still remember when we dug that well. I was 8 years old. Those trees out back are where Nate and I used to build forts and discover lost treasure. I cannot tell you how many times I rode my bike around that circle drive. Sure, I am glad you are here, but listen closely. Almost 20 years ago, I left part of my heart out here, and I have since thought nature was going to reclaim what was hers. So please don't break my heart by taking care of this place half-assed. If you do nothing else, leave this place better than you found it. That is all I ask. Thank you so much, everyone, for hosting this and for inviting me.
Thank you, Lindsay, my friend. Good to hear from you. I'm Curtis Becker, and I am coming to you from Emporia, Kansas. I have three pieces that I am going to read today. The first one is called Overheard. Awkward silence, murmurs of discontent, flame, fleeting, faces hidden in shame by shadows. Off your meds, scared of the world and an intervention. Peace comes from death, you tell your friends. Losing your mind in the middle of the street, a hot mess, melting down before building up. A new beginning, cathartic. The rage escapes through tears and wails. An ugly cry. Life is new. The next piece I'm going to read is entitled Pianos. Pianos should sing, but mostly they are forced to hum in the background as violins screech, as clarinets honk, or when children forget the words to Frosty the Snowman. I once knew a magnificent piano that sang beautiful melodies, from the choir loft of a cathedral. Its voice echoed. Its voice was triumphant. The first thing to know, if you are ever going to move a piano, is don't. My dad told me about pianos. One time he moved a piano, or two, with his brother. The center of gravity of a piano is just right for something that shouldn't be lifted or moved. People get mad. If you scratch pianos, get them out of tune, break a soundboard, it's easier to sacrifice a limb or back or friend. The first thing to know if you are ever going to move a piano is don't. The loft piano I knew sang for decades, grand, black as its ebony keys, surface more brilliant than a crystal clear lake at sunset. The piano's voice was the voice of angels, ascending to on high, with the prayers of the masses who listened long ago. The loft piano didn't move until the church closed. The first thing to know, if you are going to move a piano, is don't. I wouldn't have moved it or dropped it. I would have left it until the regal red podium gave way, a throne halfway to heaven, but of the earth. The teeth of a chainsaw tore into the gleaming black skin. The keys disbanded, the voice died. Nobody bothered to clean the sawdust from the red carpeted platform in the cathedral that is no more. The first thing to know if you are ever going to move a piano is don't. If you move a piano, turn it on its side. Use a blanket to cut down on scars. Check for stray items like chicken bones, memories, songs, notes, a voice. My last piece is entitled Last. There's the first time, but what about the last? The last kiss, the last hug, the last time you play basketball with your friends, the last time you see your friends, grandparents, parents, lover, your favorite horn in your hand to your lips, the last scratch of the pen on paper, the last word. Do you know when you have heard your favorite song for the last time, or when you have eaten your last meal, or when you have taken your last breath? Thank you, everyone.
Hello. This has been like a visual and oral and oral buffet for me, and I'm so glad and happy. So I'm happy to be involved in getting a chance to see and hear each of you. My first poem is entitled Waltz. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Ahmad, Arbery, Ahmad. 1, 2, 3. Arbery, comma, Ahmad. 1, 2, 3. First name, Ahmad. Last name, Arbery. Initials, A period, Ahmad, Arbery, Ahmad. The second poem, She Wept. The better part of the day, she wept, weeping that needed to be done like housework, deep cleaning undone and overdue. She applied tears to the thick dust of her favorite things. Sobs, stiff like an old broom, swept debris away. but no amount of crying reduced her suffering for long. But come evening, at least her pain was clean. Fallen. I have fallen and I cannot get up. I look to my limp legs, to my own power to get under me. Nothing. Arms flail uselessly, and I call out to have only echoes answer. Time does what time does, passes, and I realize I am up that creek. No paddle, no boat. I am aghast at how I wound up here so hopelessly ground bound. But then, that's when I just surrender and let the sky lift me up. This next one, Rootless. My mojo is misplaced and my nitty has separated from my gritty. It used to be that my peach could preach and how my mangoes sang. My plums, they could drum and my melons would be gelling. But now, even my bananas won't peel. Thank you.
Thank you, Annette. I'd like to read, I'm Gary Lechliter, by the way, that's all. I'd like to read 4 poems and with that commentary and just get right into it, if I might. Prufrock's Mermaids. I have seen them riding seaward on the waves, combing the white hair of the waves blown back, T.S. Eliot. Petra sells starfish to tourists, her commerce gathered on the tide, where she poses pretty as you please and shakes her long hair tangled with moss and krill. But no one speaks of her beauty anymore, the song forgotten. Nobody has the urge to know the embrace of barnacle arms. 2. Maureen sings of the old lovers, her brain stalled in the past. She's seen and wrecked the luckless ships, laid a sailor or 10. Maureen dreams of the captain who shunned her coital cry, and the days mend that were tied to the mast when she sang of love's careless endings. 3. Hannah yearns for the convent. Now she's given herself to faith, but how can she marry Christ? It's hard to leave the sand and crawl on her belly in a nun's habit, pondering when the Lord returns, who will be cast to the sorting of sheep and goats like those that graze above the shore. Dark past 9. When sunset's a bit of memory, and the neighborhood children crash in their rooms, assured that it's winter, there's no urgency to shoot baskets in the driveway, games of horse or one-on-one. All the garage doors are closed, driveways salted for the coming snow. The winter trees, like old men in their long johns, brace for the storm, some still boarding a trace of leaves that shun the frost. A minute spent is no longer new. Perhaps we can let the moment pass. After all, it's clearly used. Like most of the cars along the curb, the best of the lots on which they spangled bright when new and sexy. But in the machinery of night, 9:30 worries the 10, where neighbors in their bedding snooze and drool, blind to time that tiptoes out the door and down those certain streets. How to paint a Kansas landscape. Pondering who lived in farms lost to failed commerce, you can pose the scene from the worn mailboxes, mostly Germans who left their accounts of labor from dawn to dusk. Add an old red barn, listing, and fields gone to meadow. You might include a rusted plow beside the weeds knee-high, and the vacant house, mud still caked to the shoe scraper at the back door. Windows broken by hail and bird strike, the shingles prone to clatter. They don't make days like they used to. They don't make days like they used to, when each dawn was so unique, they called it blessed and threw away the mold. Those were the days remembered, while others we gladly forgot, the ones wedged with Sunday school that taught us to fear the night. They don't make nights like they used to, when we sat in the Timothy past bedtime and gazed at constellations with awe. They don't make wonder like they used to. Now we see galaxies through telescopes, fixed on the glitter of distant stars that blink with celestial chaos.
Hi, my name is Kerry Moyer. I'll be reading from my books Rust and Weeds and Dirt Road and one new pandemic poem. Thank you. This first one's called Stubble. The stubble on my neck, thick, coarse hair. I take rough hands, put white shaving cream there below my trimmed gray beard, shone in the bathroom mirror. Bringing the razor, chin lifted high, 2,000 years, chins lifted high, blades brought to thick forest whiskers, to stone chins, reflected in ponds, rivers, lakes, and polished steel on polished blades. Roman men wore smooth stone chins, jaws like river rocks. Father's white whiskers were thick, full, are named Germanic, Visigoths, Ostrogoths, Vandals. Nomadic tribes wore fierce virile beards. We fought river rock Romans in forests and fields, across rivers, ponds, lakes, until that empire fell. Generations back, miles of stubble, blades cut barbaric, savage looks from faces, chins, staring into mirrors, into ponds, 2,000 years, and here in this glass I gaze, while the razor glides down my neck, steel cutting away 3 days' growth. Visigoth, Ostrogoth, Vandal, the blade brought to bear this ritual, this passage, over 12,000 days ago. Okay, so that was about shaving and thinking about history. This next one's 25 years and not a stone. It's about going back to the place I graduated high school from. All the outbuildings gone, from tack shed to chicken coop. I slow my car, look up the long dirt drive. The house gone where I used to live. That farmhouse outside of Gossel, Kansas. 25 years and not a stone remembers. A grass blade breeze like memory. And the next one is called Michael Kevin. I had a brother that passed away when he was a baby, and I asked my mom about it one day, and this came from that conversation. Michael Kevin. Why did Michael Kevin die? Mother looks into her green coffee cup, the black liquid in gentle motion, her eyes deep and dark, gazing. I ask again, why did he die? Mother looks up, dark eyes in gentle motion. Her mouth starts to move, stops, then a sigh. Lifts her face to meet mine, shoulders drawn back, she speaks. He was too small. He came too soon. Mother goes back to her cup. I shift in my seat, reach for her left hand resting on the table. Mother? She looks up and her eyes are wet. I never even got to hold him. He just, her words drift and float down, settling into the inky black, lifting her cup, stopping it inches from her lips, setting it down without drinking. Mother rises and speaks. He went to heaven. The words trail behind her as she leaves the room. A lukewarm green cup of coffee sits half empty on the dining room table. And this is called Stuff. It's about materialism. So, stuff. Throw all the stuff away from your thoughts and spaces. Throw the things away. Leave them in some hidden place where you can't find them. Stuff we accumulate that buries us in debt and sweat, chasing, caging us. All the plastic and metal, all the bling bling chattel, burn the damn debris. Bury the beautifully bound boxes that hold our fat rev pumping hearts 6 feet deep in the clearance aisle. Run from the piles of things that would own you, crush you under a purchased pile of nothing. And the last one is a pandemic poem that I wrote recently. It's called In and Out. Big-eyed, they rush in and rush out. Pull on long rubber gloves, strap on cloth masks, wipe cart handles with disinfectant wipes. I see the checker who's probably making $10 an hour, her eyes tired. Above her plain white mask, no smile under there. She goes to work, like shaking a fist and rolling a set of dice. Thank you.
I am Perry Shepard. I'm the author of a book called The Hero versus Me and Monkey Joe. My second novel, Hard Love, is coming out this year. I'm going to read some poetry out of a couple of compilations that I put together that I hope to get put in place this year. America, America, when the sadness settles over the land and struggle ensues, you develop a pathology that drags you down. Citizens stumble in confusion and discontent, fighting with the undefinable enemy. Those whose legitimacy is denied become the target of the power minority and end up with the loud talker scrapes. In spite of this, you know, and you can see through the ruse. So we go onward, doing what we can, given our load we carry around every day. Our burdens change from day to day. Still we traverse time and space until there is no more. My next one's called Even the Worm Moon Recognizes the Pandemic. The light of the full worm moon wiggles out of the heavy dark clouds, sending a pale moving beam of light roving over the earth below, sensing the angst of humanity living in the darkness across the globe. Yes, the moon has noticed the shift with fewer lights and lighter air below. He searches the night with his beam, hoping to understand mankind's change. Yet the behavior changes on the surface seem like an expression of doom. Now, in other months, he is bright and he floods the earth with his light. He sees humanity respond actively and loves the fight with their lights. And he smiles to all as he moves slowly across the sky. The worm moon is dismayed tonight. He searches for the depression spread out across the land below, and he wonders how to help deal with the death he knows is growing. He cries with the dark clouds under him. And as the new day is closing in on him, he breaks from the clouds and shines with knowledge that this too shall pass. He breathes cleansing air flows that work to allow the fight to go on, letting him return tonight. This one's called At Night. The dogs start barking as I close the noisy door. I wonder, are they greeting me? Or are they letting the world know that I'm here? In the black night, the lights of an airplane shimmers in the dark sky while the vehicles rumble down the gravel lane. The cat climbs in my lap, looks out where the dogs are raising Cain, and he lifts his emerald eyes saying, shut them up. In the dark, dark night, the clear, crisp air carries voices across the field beyond the road of two women talking energetically. I can't understand a word. The next one's called Facing the Darkness. Standing against the post while looking out into the harvest moon landscape, a pale gray blue captures the breadth and scope of thought. Opaque shadows cover visions of helplessness. Forbidding trees, tall and dark, stand over you quietly, and their power invades your being deeply, feeling oh so small. The drama overhead shrinks your feelings of self-importance, lost in time spent alone. Now standing in the open with stars faintly visible under the presence of the harvest moon, calling out to you and questioning your worth. You look closely at all the faults you carry around, especially the ones you share with those you love. Standing under that moon, you know you can't give enough to make up the difference. You can't believe your value as a person falls short of the knowledge you carry around until you realize that somehow you have thrown it away. The value of a person comes and goes, yet the shadow that is you is still upright and moving, even under the harvest moon that cycles across the sky every year. You still wax on about the event, and you stand in the blue-gray atmosphere that settles in around you and controls the feelings of safety, purpose, and utility. Trees quiver in the wind. Frost hovers unbidden above the tree line, waiting to pounce. You don't rush home, where sleep is far from your thoughts. You need to be alone, out in the moonlit landscape that exposes your frailty with the life you own and the failed ventures that you have attempted. Your words go out daily to the soul and you to a few souls, and you continue to wait late into the night for the omen that tells you it's not in vain. My next one's called Motes of Dust. The words have run away. I chase them without dignity. They humble me daily. I do not tell others of this miracle of life. No one would believe. They already know, or leave it to another to get the answers wanted. They never meet the souls that go on quietly amongst the carpet and the walls, traveling down the street, nondescript to look at, often fail to be seen. Yet, there we are. I cannot claim to be the only one. I am but a part of brothers and sisters who rise or sink, yet moving steadily through man and womankind. Shyly the role is given and accepted. Some poets trying to expose the unseen world in its glory and calamity. Some are musicians who call out life in all its manifestations. There are the beasts that visually capture dreams and desires, the pain, the desolation of our growth, twisting our view of life. Oh, so many realities to embrace, each one part of the stream, each a treasure to itself. We, the wayward, know that it is right to experience all the fodder of the world and time itself. Even using our meager efforts, we plant seeds that will flourish. Farmers all, we spend our energies cultivating human potential, human waste, human insight, in action, and labor, which is misdirected as an ends to itself. Labor becomes a way to identify oneself. Yet, we, the searchers, know there are so many ways to identify your place in the universe. Don't get me wrong now. I am a small man. I am a small woman. We are here with you. We are not beacons of light and wisdom, rather sturdy, swirling forms that only are patterns of energy and indistinguishable from the dust most dangling in the sunlight. Pardon me, we got a parade going on in front of us. My next one is called Long Time Coming. While driving yesterday, just like I do every day, I suddenly lost hearing in one ear. While music played in the other ear, the song lost its sweetness. I worked diligently for 20 years, and the time came where I was not needed, and the cost was my life, which couldn't hold up. Wife and kids left me behind. Not long ago, while walking, I experienced great pain in my hips. I fell down. Now I hobble around. I try to find work, but to no avail. No one wants me. This morning while showering, the room went dark in one eye. I froze for a long time, trying to understand why she said, "I'm not your friend." It was a long time coming. And I'm going to end with this last piece. It's called When It's Time to Go. Yes, when it's time to go, finally go, I hope I have that twinkle in my eyes. I have been working on this since I wanted to be Santa and have 100 orphans to love and after and care for. Yes, I want that twinkle when I look into your eyes as we talk of life, love, and happiness. Of course, there are the children to allow joy to slide into place and take us into a light place of living. Yes, I want that twinkle and look for it in others, the ones that possess its shine with an inner glow that draws my connection to the joys of humanity. Yes, there is a bright light shining out in the universe. Trillions of stars light the way, and me, I'm just a receiver of the night's twinkling sky. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Rhonda Miller. Quick thank you to Jessica Ray. If you guys had any idea, maybe some of you have too, how many times I've accidentally signed out and had to get back in quickly. Thank you so much. And to Diane Silver for suggesting we do this Zoom. Denise, joining us from California. What a treat. Beth, you're 7th. Congratulations. I'm going to start off with the poem that Gary actually reminded me of a couple of months ago called, and I think I'll need hugs desperately about now. So this has to do with hugs. Embrace. Our mother's thighs open wide, screams echo throughout the skies. A bolt of thunder, slick with blood. We escaped the womb of love, find ourselves in her embrace. We grow, we thrive, walk, then run like all mankind. Return in times of need, open-mouthed, filled with despair, to feel close once more in a mother's embrace. Then we meet our mates, a lover's quest, invite inside, a special guest to become as one. We strive so hard for this, then fall away, exhausted from the embrace. I give birth, find it's true. I feel the emptiness of you. Fullness slips from my inner flesh. I reach to view your face, give a kiss, your first embrace. Now I'm old, dreams long buried, cycles and seasons and endless hurry. My spiritual birth takes place once Mother Nature accepts my encasement. The end of life, hovering faces, a final goodbye, one last embrace. That was from Moonstain. I'm going to read a couple of poems that I have to shout out real quickly. Winds of Time. Curtis Becker is my publisher on this one, and it is Kellogg Press. This life, this dance. This is kind of my idea of my politics. Love is my politics. I give, I have. I rarely rave about the world at large. I live within, my skin is thin. I try not to make things hard. I do not judge, lest I too be judged. I have sinned, I have wronged, I continue to sing my songs. On my deathbed, please kiss my head. Know the fighting, the wrongs were righted. The birds, the bees, clean air, trickling brooks. I've almost done it all. What I haven't seen, this place, the dream, the rest upon reawakening. I grew up in Northwest Kansas, about a mile west of the Rickery Breaks. So this is a poem entitled, I Am. I am from high plateaus, roving wheat fields, wind that blows from all directions, sometimes all at once. I am from dirt mixed with blood, memories unreachable, unthinkable, unmistakable human fragility, and strengths canyoned into one being. I am from the smell of oil-caked dirt, acrid cattle shit, snow so fresh the land devours it, and gentle gulps or giant gulps that spew forth mists, inhaled to leave lungs frostbitten, minds yearning, listing towards spring. I am from creek beds layered with dinosaur bones, fossilized cottonwood seeds, corn tassels, Cheyenne Indian arrowheads, hope. I am come into being, a part of the place that birthed me into this time. The fiber of my insides carry cells, regenerated, regenerating by generations of eating dirt in all its glorious forms. I am from, and I go forth. The last poem I'm going to share with you is also from Moonstain, which was a Meadowlark Books, and it is entitled I Am My Home, which I think is also fitting for how some of us are coping with these stay-at-home measures. I am my home, though guests are welcome for a short visit or two, and when no visitors come, I sometimes feel blue. I am my home, I feel all alone. With words as my food and thoughts as my bed, I've become comfortable alone in my head. I am my home, I keep house with my heart. Now it's my pleasure to introduce, which is fitting since this is our 7th annual poetry fair, to introduce Huascar Medina, who is our 7th laureate. Huascar is from Puerto Rico originally. He's a Spanish speaker. If you have any desire to have him come and speak at one of an event or do it through this means, Zoom, to teach or share poetry, you can contact him or you can contact the Humanities of Kansas. And with that, I want to thank everybody for joining us, and I'll leave it up to Huascar. Thanks.
Thank you, Rhonda. I appreciate the introduction. I'm Panamanian and Puerto Rican. I think my mother would be like, "You're not just Puerto Rican." She'll say that to me. So, the first poem I'm going to share today with you guys, I'm going to share love poems. It's just that's the energy I'm carrying right now. I think I need to focus on love in times like this. And this first poem is entitled "Speaking in Tongues." I love what Rhonda said about love being politics for her. Love for me is religious, and this poem is entitled "Speaking in Tongues." I will hold private revivals. I will pray to anything holy for you. Whenever you walk in with all that salvation in me, I swear to never hush the hallelujahs whispering in my soul. Oh Lord, I'd speak in silent tongues within her mouth if she'd listen, inhaling gospel after gospel, damning every bit of sin, washing away the guilt we once felt for creating heaven in a land where no one is innocent. Goddess, I just wanted to taste the Yahweh in your mouth, feel the warm forgiveness in your breath, baptize our unborn smiles, turn our lips into Quakers. There's nothing wrong with that. There was never wrong in that. God will understand. The next poem is a short poem. It's a poem I wrote for a couple that got married, and it took them a long time to get married. Their family didn't approve of it. Two female friends of mine. And so I wrote this poem, and it's called Commitment. But they were together for a very long time before they got married. On that day, our left and right palms steepled, our religion was born, and God washed as a congregation of two spoke in the Psalms never read before. Sometimes I read odd articles in the middle of the night, and this particular one was about it was titled How to Sage. It was a Vogue magazine article. It was from Brooke Bob, Vogue magazine online article, August 22nd, 2016 at 4 a.m. And I write poems and sit on them for a very long time, so I feel like picking them back up. I like neglecting my children like that for a while. So, but this is one that I picked up, and it's included in my latest book, Umango Grows in Kansas. So, from Spartan Press. So, how to sage, and it starts with a quote. Once you're ready to light your sage, grab the sage as far from the end you are burning as possible. I will always say sweet and silly things to you like, you are more charming than a room full of hummingbirds. I don't go to church, but know you are everything sacred before Genesis. You turn each day into Sunday. I trust you. We've met once, a long time ago before the sun and moon were interrupted by the earth. I remember you. I was a freshman. You were a slant of light refracted, poured onto the wall, which folded into a popcorn ceiling, a reflection from my burned CD covered in colored Sharpie titled Love Songs, Volume 1. In the future, there will come a night when you'll sneak into our bedroom and burn the sage from our garden. I'll be sleeping away the passing of my mother, dreaming in a murmuration after the gusts swallow her ashes. One day, I too will be gone, and the hallowing of morning will trap the wind inside you. Birdie will notice, then ask if she may smudge. You say yes, but keep the windows shut for a few more days so you and I can take our time, a proper Midwest goodbye. That poem's special to me because, you know, my mother is a healthcare worker and she has severe asthma, so I'm under this constant stress of like what the future may look like without her and how to get through that. So it's not really a pandemic poem, but you know, it's just, it kind of rings that way right now. So the final poem I'm gonna read for you guys today is a titular poem from Umango Grows in Kansas. And it's short and straightforward, and I like to thank Lawrence Art Center. Diane, thank you for hosting. Rhonda, thank you for the invitation, and all the other poets who participated today. I miss open mics, like that's my thing. So I'm a grumpy poet right now. That's how I'm living. So, so this brings a smile to my face and brings a lot of energy and joy into my days, and I'm gonna carry that on as I continue to write. So this poem's entitled Un Mango Grows in Kansas. You have found me, hidden in a wheat field, within a husk of corn, growing for you. I am ready, pick me. Hold me in your hands, remove my skin, peel away my color, find that I am tender, soft, and sweet. Eat of me, until there is nothing and your mouths are empty and your bellies filled. What is left will live as seed to grow again, brighter, hardened, and less bitter. Thank you, everyone.
Wow. Wow. Y'all have soothed my soul and helped me feel alive. This has been a great reading. Thank you to all. The Lawrence Art Center has been thanked many times. Of course, Jessica Ray. There's one person who hasn't been thanked from the Art Center. I'm going to mess up your name. I'm sorry. Samara Flag. Is that right? I think you've been our technical person. Rhonda, you organized the in-person version of this, and you were wonderful to talk to the Lawrence Art Center to get us to do this as a virtual poetry reading. Jessica Ray, you were wonderful. All of you amazing poets, you're in my living room right here now. Wow, thank you. But I want to also thank finally, and then we'll be done, the most important people here, and that's the audience. Without you, we're just a bunch of fools babbling in the dark. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Maybe we'll do it again. Maybe in person, maybe virtually, maybe both. Thank you. Thank you for being here.